Hey everyone, this is Mike, and today we're going to talk about what to expect in September when Apple has their keynote, which may be in September, probably will be in September. So we're going to talk about some of the things to expect then, and I'll give some comments on the existing rumors. So we'll start off with the given, what Apple's going to definitely be releasing to us, or at least announcing at the keynote, and that is the next iPhone. So I think it's going to be called the iPhone 5S. There have been some reports of an iPhone 6, and I just don't think that's going to happen. Because when you take a look at the current iPhone and where we are now, I don't think Apple can sustain an update period that gives us a major update every year. Apple cannot sustain something like that, especially with how far they've already come with the form factor and the design and the technology that's inside of it. I think they can only sustain an every other year major upgrade to the iPhone. So I believe we are going to see an iPhone 5S. It will have the same design, if maybe just a little bit of tweaking to the design, if any. And then most of the changes in the iPhone 5S are going to be inside. We're going to see maybe a new processor, faster processor, maybe a not faster, but better camera. I'm not sure about that because the camera is already quite good, so I'm not really sure how much more they can do to it. We may also see some new technology altogether inside of the iPhone, maybe some NFC, updated Bluetooth, things like that may appear in the iPhone 5S. But like I said, I don't think we're going to see a huge major overhaul. I think the main thing that Apple is going to try to do with the iPhone 5S is really optimize it for iOS 7 and the new things that are in there. A lot of it will need to be graphics optimized, making sure that the next iPhone can really handle and render all of those graphics in iOS 7 very well. Because with the parallax, the panoramic background, all of that stuff, the additional gyroscope and accelerometer support, all of that is going to take a lot more rendering time. The iPhone 5, I have iOS 7 on my iPhone 5, and it already looks great, but just Apple really needs to make sure that the iPhone 5S can definitely handle all of that, and then some, because we're going to be talking about iOS 8, iOS 9, if Apple chooses to keep calling it in that consecutive number series. So there's going to be quite a few software updates in the future that the next iPhone is going to see, so Apple's going to want to make sure that they put enough hardware in there to be able to run for several years down the road. Another rumor for the September release is the release of a budget iPhone, a cheaper alternative to just the standard iPhones that we have now. These iPhones are going to be made probably out of plastic with a little less in the hardware specs, maybe not as good of a camera, not as good of a processor, kind of stuff like that, but still an iPhone, still a device that can download apps from the App Store and do basic things. Maybe not basic, also some advanced things, but not quite like the standard iPhones that are out there like the iPhone 5, iPhone 4S. Now these budget iPhones are going to be at a significantly lower price, and I think it's a really good thing for Apple to do if they decide to do it and if we see it in September. The problem with Apple right now is that they don't really have many options for consumers. Now, if you go on their website, you may argue, what are you talking about? There's all kinds of options out there. However, if you look at other competitors of Apple, like Samsung is probably their number one competitor at this point. Samsung has tons of options, tons of phones, and not only phones. If we step out of the phone market for a second and we look at the other devices that Samsung produces, Samsung offers so many products, and they do a good job at it. Their products are very good. They're very good quality. They work well. So I think Apple needs to kind of step out of their comfort zone of focusing on just a few products at a time and really refining those. They need to really expand their market base a little bit more. They do an excellent job.
It's 4 o'clock.
It's 4 o'clock. They do an excellent job at taking just a few products and making them really good. but I think Apple can add on a few more models, maybe a few more products, and still do a really good job with all of those products. I think Apple can do it. And they took a step in the right direction when they added the new iPad model. Well, first, the iPad mini, first of all, is pretty much a whole new product. It put Apple into the smaller tablet market. It's 4 o'clock. But then also, Apple gave us the 128 gigabyte option in the new iPad. So now instead of 3 size options, you have 4. So those are examples of ways that Apple is expanding their market base a little bit, and I think a budget iPhone will be right in line, right down the track for expanding their market base again, really adding more options for consumers. And I think that is the key for Apple to really pick themselves up, because if you notice, their stock prices have really fell over the past year. They were at 700, and now they're down to 400. And then a few weeks ago, they were even below 400, about 370, 380. So I think the trick for Apple is adding more options for their consumers. That is the number one key for Apple, I believe. So a budget iPhone could be a great move for Apple and also for consumers alike, because I think it could be very popular for the younger users. You see so many kids out there with iPhones, and they're just getting younger and younger and younger and younger. It's amazing. And so I think a budget iPhone would be really good for that market, the young kids market, because parents who buy them, may not have as much of a problem buying a less expensive device than the more expensive iPhones. That's just common sense, right? So I think a budget iPhone is a great move by Apple. I think it will be very well liked by everyone. And it is one of those rumors that we are expecting and hoping to, fingers crossed, to see in September at Apple's keynote. And finally, we have to talk about the iWatch. Now, I'm not sure if we're going to see the iWatch in September. It may be later. Maybe Apple will kind of spill the beans to us like they did in the Mac Pro. They spilled the beans with their new Mac Pro, but it's not going to come out for a while. Maybe it's going to be the same thing. We'll see it in September, but it's not going to be released for another, several months. I'm not sure, but I do think an iWatch would be an excellent move on Apple's part. Myself, I've been looking at watches to connect to my smartphone, and I think it could be a wonderful addition to smartphones to be able to, see your text messages on your wrist, be able to read them, and then even with the iPhone, there's Siri. So the watch could integrate with Siri, and you can communicate and use Siri right on your wrist. Siri, make an alarm. Siri, remind me to do something. Or even with text messages, you could reply right from your wrist using voice dictation. So maybe you just want to say, okay, and then message sent, So I think an iWatch made by Apple to integrate with the iPhone would be an awesome move. The only problem is the existing watches out there that are like that, they're a little on the pricey side for a watch. I know it's technology and it can do a lot, but I'm just worried that I would bang it against something walking and I would break it. And so they're a little on the pricey side already, and so with Apple's pricing trends, I can only expect an Apple iWatch to be even more expensive. So I'm not too excited about that, but we will see what happens. Again, I'm not sure if we'll see in September or later down the road, but maybe eventually we will see an Apple iWatch. So guys, that wraps up our video. Be sure to give us a thumbs up if you learned anything or liked it or enjoyed it or whatever you did. Thumbs up. Alright, subscribe to get your latest tech news and videos, and also follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+. Thank you guys. Leave comments if you have any questions, and let us know what you want to see in September. What do you want Apple to do? What do you want them to change in the iPhone? What do you want them to bring to you as a customer? Just leave a comment and let me know. We'll see you guys in the next video.